There's only one thing that we love more than eating food with chopsticks, and that's photography.
So, in case you haven't guessed, today's show is all about music. Better yet, it's all about concert photography.
Did you notice my fine drumming skills? I mean, I was intense.
I've been playing the air guitar for about 15 years now.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm finally at that level that I can put myself out there.
You did a great job. But so what are we covering today?
So today we're going to talk about concert photography. I heard somebody once say concert photography, it's like photographic gymnastics. You know, and I think in a second we'll talk to Steve about some of his tips with concerts, but every time I've been to a concert, it is totally that. You are constantly changing things on your camera.
Yep.
You're constantly going, is this the right lens? Am I in the right spot? You're just moving around. It never stops. The lighting, as soon as you think you got it figured out, lighting changes. Yep. So what we'd like to do is introduce on this episode is the 3 C's of concert photography.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. The first one being camera. The second being composition. And the third being color. But I also, in color, would include lighting. So with that in mind, Steve has been shooting concerts. How long have you been shooting concerts for?
Shooting concerts probably 10 years.
About 10 years, hundreds of concerts.
Hundreds,
some of the biggest name bands and acts out there. And I think there's nobody else around that can shoot a concert like Steve can.
So it's one of my favorite things to do. I like all kinds of photography, but to me the most fun is concert photography because it lets me get in my element and things are constantly changing and you really have to think. People think that concerts just like go out there and pray and spray. I just keep hitting that shutter button. No, you're thinking about stuff. And we'll show you some images kind of as we're going along and stuff and the reason why I shot the way I did. But maybe we can kind of talk.
Yeah, and let's start with our first C, which is camera. Everybody always wants to know, what should I take?
I'm going to rip my Surface apart here and take off the keyboard.
Yeah. Because you're going to show me some photos today as we talk to. So tell me about the camera. What kind of equipment? I'm going to play devil's advocate today, and I'm going to interview you while you go through this.
So I always shoot with 2 bodies when I shoot a concert. I got my main body with my 24 to 70.
I thought you brought a second person. I did 2 bodies.
Yeah, 2 bodies, one dead and one alive. No, my 24 to 70 is on one, and I usually keep this on my R strap, which is the strap that goes around, right? That hangs off the side. And then I shoot with a D750 with my 7200 on it, and that one is in my spider holster. So that's a critical thing. I use a 2-system type of strapping system, and I've just got a brand new hand strap that I'm going to kind of try today. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm going to go through that too. But this is the gear that I use. So it's 24 to 70, 7200 are my lens choices because it covers both wide and long.
I've heard people talk about fisheye lenses. Did you ever use a fisheye?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
I think you can get cool shots, but I think it's you get one shot at a concert.
No, what's interesting is like when I shoot, like this example that's up on the screen. Okay. So this is picture taken actually at a Christmas concert.
I think this is the best concert photo I have ever seen.
It's Lincoln Brewster. And one of the things that I saw is that when I shot this image, I got right down at the edge of this. They had like a catwalk with plexiglass over it that reflected well. And I thought, that would probably be a pretty cool image. Now, when I took the image, it turned out to be a pretty incredible image just because of all the stuff going on. Yeah. This one I had my 24 to 70 because I wanted to get as wide as I could, and I'm probably shooting.
You got girls that are coming down on
that's probably about 35, so I'm not completely wide because there's a bunch of distraction going on the side. But the thing that I saw is that there was so much action happening. I still wanted to focus on the main subject, and this is not a rule of thirds picture. This is dead on center.
Yeah.
But everything about it turned out great. And we'll talk a little bit about lighting here in a second, but just that was 24-70. I wanted to capture the width of it.
Tripod? Anybody need a tripod?
Never.
Okay.
Never use a tripod.
So. I've never brought one.
Don't use a monopod, any of that stuff.
Even when you do landscapes, you don't use a tripod.
I don't use a tripod ever. No. But, it's just, it gets in the way. So travel's super light. I mean, that's the thing. This is a 2-camera setup. I'm not worried about switching out lenses at all. Boom, long, short, long, short, long, short.
Tell me about settings.
Settings, I'm always got this set at my lowest aperture, 2.8.
Okay.
And that's where I just sit it there. Now, I wouldn't say always. 99% of the time. Sometimes I write it higher. Just be cautious because some things can get blurry in the background. 2.8. My ISO usually is a base setting of 1600 is where I start, and I most of the time just leave it there.
There's no reason to go under 1600 anymore, is there?
There isn't. I mean, the cameras shoot
great
images without that. And then what I'm going to do is going to ride my shutter speed. So it's going to go really anywhere from 80 to huge.
Okay. So you're shooting in manual?
Yeah. So
because I've been reading a lot of people that tell me, oh, you got to shoot an aperture priority. I don't like shooting aperture priority. I like manual.
I shoot totally manual. I shoot spot meter or center meter. Okay. Either one of those. So if it's really dynamic lighting, and sometimes I'll go to center just because little things are changing there. Okay. So auto white balance.
Auto white balance. Perfect. No, that's important because the light's constantly changing colors. It's better to let the camera make that decision. And you said you're just riding that shutter.
I ride that shutter
so that's the only thing you have to think about then at that point.
If I have to think about all the other settings, it doesn't make sense. But that shutter is on my front dial, and that thing is just going back and forth at the time. I mean, I go from literally 80th of a second to 2000th of a second like that. So because the lights can be so dynamic and change really fast.
Okay. It's usually when we're working a concert, we're in the photo pit or we're behind the scenes somewhere, it is pitch black.
Yep.
Is there anything that you use?
Yeah, so a couple of tools that I say you have to have. Yeah. This is critical for shooting concerts. One is one of these little flashlights, and these are made by, who are they made by?
That's an Anova.
Anova, yeah. So we'll actually put the link to this stuff down in the show notes below where you can order it on Amazon. But this is a blue flashlight. I don't know if you can see it on the screen there. But the reason why I use blue is because it's really fast for your eyes to adjust to the blue light. Okay. And it's also not super noticeable. If you use just a regular white light flashlight...
Oh, yeah. Everybody in that concert goes, oh,
right. And it's
who's
too
doing
bright
that
if I'm looking through something or I drop my lens cap or something on the ground, this is not going to be super noticeable. I turn on a white flashlight, everybody's like, what is that guy doing down there? But one of these, just clip it on your lanyard for your show pass or on your belt. The other one, this is the huge one.
Yes.
Is
I never shoot a concert without these.
Was earplugs, right? And these ones are made by, you have to help me pronounce this. I can never.
I think it's Etymotic.
Etymotic.
Research. Etymotic Research.
But they are known as the High Fidelity Company. But these things here are amazing earplugs. So, the old squishy...
Which is what I use. Yeah, the foam.
The squishy foam are just a pain in the rear because they keep popping out. They don't fit well. And then you can't hear anything, right? It's like, what?
Yeah.
What? But these ones are great. You stick these in your ear, right? I pull down on my earlobe. Yeah. Stick them in, let go. And now they're in. They look a little funny.
They're actually pressurized.
But they're pressurized. I can hear all the regular frequencies, but it cuts it by 20 to 30 dB.
Yeah. Which is funny because we were talking about earlier. Is the foam ones 20 dBs? That's what it's going to cut out of. But you don't hear anything.
These are critical. These are fantastic. They're $13 or so. Yep. Save your ears.
Don't ever think that oh, I don't really care. I could stand right next to a speaker and shoot for 2 hours. It will ruin your hearing.
It will. I mean, that's
the band themselves. They don't play in front of their own speakers.
Most concerts are like 200 dB in front of the speaker, which is the same as standing next to a jet engine. Yeah. So don't do it.
Don't ruin.
It.
So that's the first C. Let's move on to the second C, which is composition. So this is just give us some tips on how to take better concert photos.
So remember the first concert we shot together?
Yeah.
What did I say? What was the very first tip I told you?
You told me when you push your shutter, fire on the bass note.
Right.
Which seemed weird to me at the beginning.
So the reason why is because when you're shooting photography, it's a dance. Yeah. It's just like
and when you say bass, you're listening for that kick drum, right? That boom, 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 that drummer.
Which usually aligns with the bass line for the bass guitar. Okay. But doing that does a couple things, especially if you're shooting a drummer. So they hit the kick, right? Kick, boom, kick, boom, kick, boom. When they're hitting the kick, the sticks are usually on the rise or risen, right? Then they go back down, snare and tom and all that stuff. Okay. So it's doing that. You get the sticks that are usually frozen. Otherwise, when they're going down, you get a big smear on the stick. Yeah.
Or their face goes down.
Their face goes down because they're powering through it. Rising, their face tends to rise with that. A great example is this image here that I took of Skillet's drummer. She's an incredible drummer. It's a female drummer. Let me find it. Scanning through. Here it is. So as you can see, the image, there we go. The image, she's on that beat, right? Sticks up. I also noticed that her hair, every time she rose back up, flew like a flame. And so it was
like a Disney character.
Yeah, I wanted to capture that image. So if you do that, it's really important. Now, the other thing that I talked about with you was what? This was critical. This was screwed up every time.
It was. And this is one where I'm ashamed of myself because you can throw the pictures up on there. I had a chance not too long ago to film one of the best guitar players in the world, Uli John Roth.
Yep.
Every image, I cut the neck of his guitar off because I'm thinking, I get to shoot Uli, and I'm getting these great pictures of him, but it's all about the guitar.
So if you're shooting a portrait, maybe it's a mid-length portrait, what would happen if you cut off one arm?
Yeah.
It would look stupid, right?
would.
Cut off, half their arm. Same thing on a guitar or any type of instrument. Don't cut it in half. That's part of the extension of them. So here's a picture of Stephen Curtis Chapman. He's actually got a banjo, not a guitar.
I didn't even know he played the banjo.
He plays. In fact, this concert was awesome. He had 25 different types of guitars laid out, and he would just pick one up and start playing. But even though I cut off a little bit of the bottom, it's because I was so tight. I was using my 7200. I couldn't get back any farther. Yeah. So I just cropped it with the top of his head. But that whole guitar is completely seen, or the whole banjo. And that's
a lot of times when we're shooting concerts, we're shooting it not only for the band, but we're shooting it also for clients.
Yep.
They want to see their logos. They want to see their instrument.
Totally. So check this out. This is another interesting shot. So this one here, now there's two feelings on this. This is shooting at an angle, right? And the angle just means taking that camera and rotating it at that angle to get the whole guitar in.
Now, like a 45 degree.
This bass player, this is a totally angled shot. And most of the time I would say don't angle if you have any kind of horizon line in the background. This shot actually has a pretty strong horizon line. Yeah. But I love the shot because it's just all these angles actually work.
It works.
So with this one, what I did is simply took the camera. I noticed I was so tight. I was actually on stage at this point. Yeah. I could not get him. I had my 7200 in my hand. I could not get the whole thing in.
Couldn't get the whole guitar.
So I just ended up taking the camera, rotating it, over-rotating it, and taking the picture. What works about this is that line of the neck of the guitar is even with the edge, right?
Yep.
His body is now pointed to the upper left-hand corner, which makes this V.
This mic stand behind him makes some other leading lines for you. So it works great.
Yeah. So it's important. It's important. The other thing that I think is one of my pet peeves of photography is mic stands, right? I hate them because they're always in the way. I mean, but be patient and get the right angle. So you can see here, this one, Parachute Band, I took it at an angle. The mic stand is still kind of the microphone is kind of in his face, but it's not blocking his nostrils. It's not blocking his lips. Now, this is a good example, too, of composition using some negative space. I saw that there was actually a cross in the corner, and it wasn't a cross. It was actually just a background on one of the text overlays, but it made for a really cool shot. But again, keep those mic stands out of the way of the guitars, out of the way of the
And as a concert photographer, negative space is important, isn't it?
Totally.
And why is it?
Just because if you're shooting for the band a lot of times wants to use this for promotional material. You need to make sure that you need enough space for graphics, for words, for ticket buy now, that kind of stuff on it.
The dates and times super all those things. So
let's move on to maybe some color stuff.
Before we move on, though, a couple things is crowd shots. How important is it to get crowd shots?
Real important. So what I do often is, and I think I have a shot here, is of this crowd. And you can see when we look at it, all I did was simply spin around on the back, right? So I was shooting forward and then I just spun around, and you get all the texture. I mean, that's the stuff that the band loves to see, because they like to see, oh, there's the crowd. Look at how big the crowd looks. I mean, and the tour managers love that too.
They do,
so it's like,
because that's stuff they're going to use to promote that band. With
so,
that stuff. Here's one tip that you didn't cover that I think is really important for people to understand. When you're shooting any sort of live event, you have to condition yourself to shoot with both eyes open.
Yep.
I see that too often, where they put one eye to the camera and they shut the other eye. How do you see what's going on? You have to time stuff.
It's a hard thing to learn.
Yeah, musicians like to jump off of things. There's lots of things happening. If you're not ready for it, you're going to miss the shot.
So when I'm shooting, I'm right eye dominant. So I'm going to shoot here, right? And the natural thing is to close that left eye. But when I'm shooting concerts, and when I'm shooting a lot now, just because I got used to doing it, I shoot with both eyes open. I'm actually looking through the viewfinder, but I see everything that's going on here. I can see our camera. I can see my hand. Because stuff is happening, you want to make sure that if all of a sudden I see that someone is climbing up on one of the monitors, right? I want to make sure I can grab that and swing right over to get that shot. So, it's really cool.
I love the color in this shot. Yep. So with that, let's talk about color.
Okay.
So I love this picture right here.
Yeah, what is it about the picture that you like?
This leads into the final C, which is color, which I also would include lighting, or we both would include lighting. So what part does lighting play in a concert?
Nothing.
Doesn't have anything to do with it.
No. I just like white, bright flashlights.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for dynamic color and reflections and just stuff going on, and I'm not afraid to shoot directly into lights too. So that's one of the things that I've got a shot in here we can show you in a little bit that's just all flared out. It's pretty cool. But I like to look for, if you've got to look this. Let me back up. If you've got a lighting designer and a lighting director that knows color, they know complementary color. So here we've got this shot Again, a nice reflective front. We've got blues and oranges and blacks.
Exactly,
and,
and they just complementary
it
colors going on
blends together
there.
really well.
Yep.
So I'm always looking for those moments. The lights themselves are just as much of a star as the star on stage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the lights are half the show. And I'm going to look for the appropriate lighting with the right color and be patient and wait for it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not going to sit there and just hold down my shutter and go. So
I think this one shot is really important for everybody to see too. This is one shot where you'd say the lighting is part of the show.
Yep.
It is its biggest part. You were telling me you waited for this.
I did.
to happen.
So they had some what are called rotocams, which are the lights that are rotating on the front of the stage, right? They're 5-axis gimbaled lights. I waited for that light to spin around and face me and catch the corner of my lens because I knew with this lens on, this can flare pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right? So I knew it was going to flare. Now, the trick was to not have it flare across his face. So I caught it at the right time, the right angle, just in that corner, and it flared perfectly and shot all the way up.
Yeah.
But that flare, which I'm not a big flare guy, but that flare works incredibly well.
It looks amazing in that.
Because
And so that light's between you and the
it
artist.
is, and it's actually about 6 feet in front of me, and about 4 feet in front of him. So
Okay.
right in between it.
So let's talk about colors that we hate at concerts.
Oh,
There's
yes.
only 2 of them that we hate.
There's certain lighting designers that I've worked with before that he will tell you anytime. Dave Carr, one of my favorite guys out there, he will tell you exactly what is my least favorite color, and that
Exactly.
happens to be red.
Yes.
Now, I'll say a caveat about red. I love red light as long as it's used as a background.
Yes.
But red light as a fill, where it's just filling the whole stage.
Which it seems like every concert I go to today, they love red.
Oh, it's awful because the problem is in post-processing, you bring down that red channel because the skin looks really weird in red.
Yeah.
You bring down the red channel, all of the light goes away. That color
all of
frequency disappears
Yeah.
and the picture turns black. There's nothing
And if there's
you can
any
do about
other color left in there, it's these weird blobs of color.
it. Yeah, so you just got to roll with it and leave it red, but it looks funky.
Yeah.
The other color, just like my flashlight here, blue. Blue is the ugliest color for skin tone. It's super popular right now. You see a lot of concerts doing
And it's
blue.
not just for skin tone. Everything gets blobby.
Yep.
You know, there's no definition to blue light. I don't know why. It just gets ugly, messy.
And we are dealing with LED lights and a mixture of LED and regular incandescent lights. It just makes for a mess.
If you get into the concert where you have no choice and you have to shoot the red, have to shoot the blue, is there any way to save those photos?
No.
Throw
yes.
them away.
Yes, there is. I mean, in post, what you're going to do is you're going to play around with your color, right? But more than that, it's just the color temperature. A lot of times in the blue, if you scoot that color temperature all the way up to 20,000, way beyond where it should be naturally, it will cut some of that, but you have to be real careful because then you get orange.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because I've always looked at like a lot of the music magazines, and most of your concert pictures are black and white. And I've always thought, oh, everybody thinks they're really artsy, or they just didn't get their exposure right or whatever. But that's probably because
you know why it
dominant
is,
blue,
It
dominant
is,
red.
because it's an ugly picture to begin with.
Yeah.
But the reason why a lot of them are black and white is because people are impatient.
Yeah.
Right? They're taking pictures at the wrong time. And they maybe captured a cool looking picture and they're like, dang, there's nothing I can do to get this one to look better.
But if they had waited for that lighting design to change to a different color,
it would have been
great.
less editing,
Yeah.
less time, and a better picture.
So kind of to wrap everything of these tips together, it goes back to the first thing that I had said was, it can be like gymnastics, photographic gymnastics. You're thinking of all these things, you're changing all your settings. You have to be patient.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I've learned shooting with you is the fact that, get those shots that you think are important and then be patient and wait for the right timing. I know that the last concert you and I shot, I literally sat there with my 7200 braced like this on the lead singer for at least 3 minutes because he would never back away from the microphone. After 3 minutes, though, he backed away, and I got the perfect shot where his mouth was away from the microphone.
Yeah,
otherwise, it would have been right here.
That 3 minutes of not shooting was so much more valuable than getting 50 shots of nothing.
Of just a microphone in someone's face. So be patient.
So you know what I think we should do now? Now we have a great opportunity. We're going to go out and we're going to hang out with Eli Young Band.
You guys get to come along with us while we photograph the Eli Young Band today.
So we're going to do some shooting at a concert there. And then we'll come back in with some final thoughts after we're done. But join us on this little fun photo walk.
All right, let's go.
All right. All right, so here we are. We're here at the theater, ready to go in and start the sound check. They're going to be going on stage in just a few minutes, doing the sound check, and it's always a great time if you ever have the opportunity to shoot a sound check. It's a great time to test your lighting, kind of figure out where they might be standing, see if there's any cool elements. It gives you a great chance to do that. And so let's head on in. And
before we do, let's just run through again. So we're going to set up, my camera is set at ISO 1600 as my starting point. I've got my lens set at 2.8, so it's wide open. So I'm going to put it right at, between 400 or 500 right now to get started. And
you want to try 200, right? Okay. That's kind of a good where to start, a good place to start, because the lighting could be very dynamic, especially at the beginning. Sound check is always hard to tell because it's different, but between 200 and 500, you should be okay. Okay. Yeah. So let's head on.
Let's head on down and let's try to get going.
So, all right. Right, so here is the lighting designer and lighting director for the whole show. This is the person that can make or break your shooting. Dave here is one of the masters at lighting designing and being a lighting director. But if you ever have a chance to talk to the lighting director before a show, you don't get that chance very often. But if you do, it can be a huge help just to kind of find out, again, if there's those elements that you can use, or find out if there's a low point in the lights where you just kind of kick back and do nothing. But the lighting designer can make or break your concert shots. They are the most important guy here. All right, so we're here before the concert. One of the things that you also want to do, kind of like if you're taking pictures at a wedding, right? You catch a lot of the detail. Now, this is really important that if you're shooting for the band in particular, and these are going to be used for publication, is you want to get some of these detail shots, like Mark is doing right now. He's taking pictures of the drum set, logos, that type of thing. Do that, and that way they can kind of be filler in your picture in the background, or in your album in the background. But it's really important to get these extra shots to make that whole concert portfolio complete. It's been a long day. We just got out from shooting Eli Young Band. Pretty exhausted, actually, but man,
great show.
It was a great show. The guys, if you ever have the chance to see them in person performing, just put on a fantastic show. But man, what fun we had shooting concerts.
Yeah, great access and just a lot of fun shooting. Lots of shooting.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed following us along for the day and just took some of those concert tips. And the best part about all those concert tips is they translate right over to a lot of different type of event photography, whether it be wedding photography or just other kinds of events. So.
Yeah. Go out and find an event somewhere in your area. It doesn't have to be a big name band or anything. Just any live event. It'll force you to learn your camera.
Yep, totally. So that's what we got for you today. We appreciate you watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell on YouTube. And ringing the bell means that you'll be notified every week of anything new that we post on YouTube. So thanks a lot, and we will see you again.
All right. Have a great one.
I want to welcome you to our YouTube channel. That's right, the Panoptic Chopstick channel, where we are bringing fun to photography.
Hey, we want to invite you each week to join us on Tuesday, where we put out a new episode of our Panoptic Chopstick show, where we will give you tips, tricks, interviews with photographers. We'll give you DIY projects to do on your own, and maybe even inspire you a bit.
That's right, including always a little dash of fun. So we want to invite you to go ahead and subscribe and like our channel, where you will get notified every Tuesday of brand new episodes. But welcome to the Panoptic Chopsticks channel.
Come join the fun.